Did Ferrari just drop a bombshell on the FIA? Ferrari is experiencing their worst start to a season since the point system was overhauled in 2010, and there appears to be no respite in sight. Adding to their woes, Carlos Sainz has received a 5-second time penalty for his actions against his fellow countryman, Fernando Alonso, and the Marinello squad is struggling to come to terms with it. However, Ferrari has recently taken measures that could potentially boost their morale for the upcoming race weekends if the outcome is in their favor. This could once again put the FIA in an awkward position. In this article, we will delve into Ferrari's appeal against the FIA and also discuss the controversial stance of their new team principal, Vassar, on this issue. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc had a difficult time during the Australian race weekend. Although Sainz managed to finish the race, Leclerc was involved in a collision with Stroll on turn 3, causing his SF23 to get stuck in the gravel, thus ending his race. It's evident that Leclerc is disappointed with the car's performance, and he may be considering significant changes to his future plans, given the lack of a championship-winning car from Ferrari. On the other hand, Sainz, who was hoping to prove himself as a leader for the team, seems to be struggling in his role. In Australia, he was penalized with a 5-second penalty for understeering into Alonso on the restart with only 2 laps remaining. As a result, he finished in 12th place, which is practically the last place on the grid. Ferrari is not happy with the penalty and has challenged the FIA's decision, according to team principal Frédéric Vassar. Although Vassar didn't provide more details, it's clear that Ferrari's dissatisfaction will not remain in Australia. Although Gasly and Sargent's accidents were classified as racing incidents, Sainz was the only one who received a penalty for his actions during the race. Ferrari was unhappy with the decision, and Sainz even asked the team on the radio before the second restart to approach the governing body and stewards to discuss the matter with him. However, Ferrari's request was denied, and they are now seeking a meeting with the FIA to address the issue. Vassar has described this as a low point for the FIA and the sport in general, and he believes that a discussion with the governing body could prevent inconsistent decisions when multiple incidents occur in the same corner. He added, "What we can expect is to at least have an open discussion with them, also for the good of the sport, to avoid having this kind of decision when you have 3 cases at the same corner and not the same decision." The FIA's determination that Sainz was fully at fault for the accident means that the investigation cannot be reopened unless there is significant and relevant new evidence to consider. Whether Ferrari's appeal to the FIA will be successful and their wishes granted remains to be seen. In opinion Vassar, this appeal is unlikely to succeed and is akin to beating a dead horse. However, Ferrari seems to have found some additional car data that was not available to the stewards during the race. They appear to have handled the requirement for new evidence adequately, so their appeal is not based on false hope. That being said, it is rare for the FIA to withdraw decisions like this, except in cases like the Alonso penalty, where they clown themselves. Furthermore, the Vassar provided us with some deep and thorough information. As he went on to add, the process is that first they will have to look at our petition to see if they can reopen the case, then we'll have a second hearing a bit later with the same stewards of the same meeting about the decision itself. The biggest frustration was from Carlos, and you heard it on the radio, to not have a hearing because the case was very special. And in this case, I think it would have made sense considering that the race was over. It was not affecting the podium to have a hearing as Gasly and Ocon had. While it may appear that Ferrari is attempting to downplay their own design weaknesses and lack of competitiveness compared to teams like Red Bull, Aston Martin, and Mercedes, it's important to acknowledge that there is a degree of fairness in their request. After all, even a single point can determine whether or not a driver becomes the champion of the season, as we saw in the 2021 season, which came down to the final race. However, based on what we're currently observing, Ferrari seems to be significantly behind in the competition. Ferrari's performance has not been up to par with Red Bull, and they are currently not even the second fastest team after the first 3 races of the season. This has caused unrest within the team, and the criticism did not stop there as they took cheap shots at the FIA. Vassar that the issues at Ferrari are not solely related to their former team principal. While Vassar is a capable leader, it is likely that Ferrari's current struggles would have still occurred even if they had not gone through the drama of firing Bonatto. After all, the Swiss engineer had a wealth of experience working with Ferrari, and had put a great deal of effort into ensuring the reliability of the SF23. Unfortunately, he was not able to see the project through due to the sacking process. If Ferrari had been as competitive as Red Bull in 2022, without the reliability problems that have plagued the Italian team, they might have been able to rely on Red Bull receiving a sporting penalty. However, it now appears that the 10% fewer in the wind tunnel will not help the Sainz and Leclerc on the track. This is why Vassar believes that the penalty given to Red Bull was unfair or, as he put it, barely a penalty. It is worth noting, however, that rather than focusing on Red Bull's penalty, Vassar would be better served by addressing the issues that have been brewing within the team for some time. After displaying the fastest car on Main Street in the first race, Ferrari's performance has been a rollercoaster ride, with a solid P2 finish that could have challenged RB19, followed by a P4 finish plagued by reliability issues and driver errors. It's important to note that this is only after 3 races, leaving us uncertain about what's next for the Scuderia. When talking about Red Bull's penalty, Vassar took a cheap shot at the FIA as to their consistency, going on to add, "I think it was not a penalty. It was very low if you consider that basically, we will improve a bit less than 1 second over the season in terms of aero. You get a penalty of 10% of this, it's 1/10, and as it's not a linear progression, it's probably less, and you are allowed to spend this money somewhere else. But it means for me the penalty is marginal." I think that Wolff said it best. For the team that is penalized, the penalty will always be too harsh, but for its opponents, it will always be too little. So that is the rule that we have to accept and implement in this scenario as well. Ferrari needs to acknowledge that despite any possible P4 return for Sainz, his slower performance compared to Alonso and Hamilton highlights the substantial amount of work that still needs to be done at the Marinello factory. Additionally, with Leclerc experiencing 2 DNFs out of the first 3 races, it's uncertain if he will have the motivation to continue pursuing a championship dream with Ferrari. It seems like there may be significant turmoil brewing within the Scuderia throughout the 2023 season, and it's possible that Vassar may not even last the entire season with the team. We welcome your input on this matter in the comments section below.